afternoon, everybody. Today, I'm here for UNESCO, an organization in the UN, 195 countries or members. This is the third time that we have this International Day, a day dedicated to the safety of journalists. Let me really thank Netherlands and Free Press Unlimited for their ongoing support with these issues. And of course also to thank The Hague and the Postcode Lottery. Well, I'm here to tell you a bit about a new report. A report that the Director General of UNESCO will present to a particular body called IPDC, International Program for the Development of Communication. And this will be debated on the 17th of November. This report, and there are copies outside, this has the latest official statistics from the UN on the killings of journalists and the issue of impunity. We have heard before this figure, 827 killings of journalists. 827 people who were mowed down in the prime of their career, doing their job to tell the world what was going on. Of course, the killings are the tip of the iceberg, but the killings are the worst because they are so final and they have the biggest silencing effect of any repression. As we speak today, the Director General of UNESCO has condemned the killing of 2 journalists in Mosul, reporting on a critical confrontation that the world needs to know about. It has already been mentioned, your own citizen who gave his life in public service of informing people in Libya. Well, according to the report, this Director General's report, 2/3 of the killings in the past 10 years are in conflict countries. These are countries where local citizens need information and the rest of the world needs information. Even so, what's interesting is that most of the journalists killed are not the foreign correspondents, they are the local reporters. Often their killings don't even get noticed. Beyond these statistics, we have people who have families, who had colleagues, people who are no longer with us, people whose killing left an information vacuum. The impact is exacerbated by impunity, whereby nobody is brought to account, nobody is brought to book for these killings. Now, we do know, of course, that it's difficult in war situations, but we also know the world has a category of war crimes, and we know that journalists are civilians. And we know that many journalists are not even killed in war. They're killed by mafia, they're killed by drugs barons, they're killed by local politicians or local security people. Nothing even to do with war. There's nothing logistically difficult to track down the killers, the perpetrators. Increasingly, we do have momentum on this question. This is year 3 of this International Day, which was declared by the UN General Assembly. We have this map of events on the UNESCO website. Almost 30 countries around the world are having events to mark this day, to stand up with this cause and to say, no more victims. We refuse that journalists should be victimized. The media are standing up, the UN is standing up, NGOs are standing up, governments are standing up. Here we have our event here in the city, which the Deputy Mayor said is so symbolic. A few weeks ago, UNESCO was in Arusha, Tanzania. Whoops, I'm sorry, I've gone too fast here. UNESCO was in Arusha in Tanzania, and this is an important city because this is the the African Court of Human and People's Rights. And this court has issued very important rulings about impunity. They've ordered the government of Burkina Faso to reopen an investigation into a journalist who was killed more than 10 years ago. This is the kind of progress that we need to talk about. UNESCO also has a map on our website, a map where anybody can type in the name of a country and you will see there what the number of killings is in the past 10 years, and whether the government has reported, as they are asked to report voluntarily, on judicial process following the killings. This is the figure for Pakistan, where I was last week. Pakistan, as you can see from these figures, has not been reporting to UNESCO in the past 3 years about judicial process. It is, of course, the government's responsibility to have the information and, if it wishes, to show that it is keen on cooperating with UNESCO. Our impression is that Pakistan would like to cooperate, but that they need support. This IPDC that will be debating the DG's report has been trying to help, bringing together the NGOs and the government to say, how can you get accurate information on who is killed for journalism and what is happening with judicial process? And we do this because in Pakistan, as you may know, as in many countries, many, many people are killed. But we are trying to sensitize everybody that journalists are not a special category, but their cases need priority, because journalists play such an important part in the society. So we need information, and we need information for all. We need information countries can report to UNESCO. We also need information so countries can report to the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva through the Universal Periodic Review. In addition, today we have the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. This is the first time that the world, through the UN General Assembly, has recognized safety of journalists is really important if you want to have sustainable development. And part of measuring if a society is improving and moving towards sustainable development is if they are taking care of their journalists. Today we are meeting at a time when there is some progress, and this is encouraging. The United Nations developed a plan of action in 2012, which has led to all kinds of partnerships. It has led to the kind of declaration that we have today of this day being a dedicated day. In the past 4 years, the norm has been underlined in the UN with all these resolutions, 9 resolutions, which say it is not cool to kill journalists and it is unacceptable that there's no justice in their cases. At UNESCO, although the case of Pakistan needs support, the number of states that are now responding to requests for information on killings of journalists has risen from 27% to 47% to 65%. So there is increasing attention on the part of governments to their responsibilities here. There are new mechanisms in countries where targeted efforts are being made to build systems to give journalists protection, to track down culprits, even if it's many years later. There's momentum here today. Even next year, we will have a review of the UN plan with as many stakeholders as possible. Well, my final message to you is keep in touch with the issues. You can subscribe to a UNESCO newsletter on the safety of journalists. Support the Free Press Unlimited in their efforts in this regard. Stand up for journalists and justice. And together, we will indeed end impunity. Thank you.